Shadow watched Hu Keban's memories play out. He saw a horrific scene where a short-haired blonde woman was violently murdered. Right after she died, a mysterious cloaked figure walked up to Hu Keban and proposed a dark deal. The stranger told the killer to preserve his future victims' bodies and contact him first. Just for the chance to touch the corpses, the man promised to pay Hu Keban 10 years of lifespan per body. After that, Hu Keban could throw the bodies away. A greedy smile spread across Hu Keban's bloody face as he eagerly accepted. The mysterious man then offered a massive bonus. He warned the killer to stay alive and promised an extra 100 years of lifespan if Hu Keban raised his kill level to 10. With the deal made, the cloaked figure used a spatial skill to teleport away in a flash of cyan light, wishing the confident killer good luck. Watching from the starry void, Shadow thought hard about the stranger's identity. He focused on one key detail. When the man touched the dead body, a star-shaped mark lit up on his arm. Shadow guessed this was a hidden class tied to corpses. Suddenly, the pieces clicked into place, and Shadow's eyes widened in realization. He instantly recognized the cyan teleportation magic. It was the Soul Walker skill, an ability that used to belong to a player named Zuma. Shadow clearly remembered that Zuma was already dead. Since Soul Walker was a strictly unique class, Shadow figured out the horrifying truth. This mysterious figure could steal other players' unique skills just by touching their dead bodies. Shadow then remembered the stranger's demand for Hu Keban to reach kill level 10. He immediately connected this to the recent chaos in Nanyu, realizing the War God Guild's random player slaughter had the exact same goal. Everything was linked. The dead Zuma, the War God Guild's leader Zentil, and the leftover members of the Black Dragon Guild. One mastermind was pulling all their strings. A chilling thought hit him. The puppeteer pulling off this grand scheme, stealing skills and controlling guilds from the shadows, was Theodore, the diviner he thought he had killed for good. Shadow realized his mistake. Because he hadn't used his permanent death curse on Theodore, the corpse had respawned in Country M. The mastermind must have touched the body, stolen the diviner class, and then traveled to Great Zia. The man was secretly uniting different groups to target Great Zia, specifically aiming at Shadow. However, Shadow wasn't worried. With his overwhelming power, these united enemies couldn't beat him in a straight fight. He just wondered what their actual trap was. Remembering their obsession with raising kill levels, he suspected their true goal was to summon a terrifying monster known as the Slaughter Executioner. From his past life, Shadow knew this creature was a game rule designed to punish mass murderers. Once summoned, the Executioner would instantly kill its target and wipe out anyone nearby with a kill value over 100. Checking his own stats, Shadow saw his kill value was 0. As long as he kept it under 100, the Executioner couldn't hurt him. His enemies probably knew this and might try to throw bodies at him to force his kill count up. Knowing their plan, Shadow decided to keep a close watch on them. Shadow shifted his focus back to the trial as the system announced the memory extraction was done. With enough proof of his crimes, Hu Keban was officially declared guilty. The guilty verdict instantly boosted the Blade of Judgment's stats. Gripping his glowing sword, Shadow received a final system prompt asking if he wanted to execute the sinner. Terrified, Hu Keban begged for his life. He cried that they had no personal grudge and offered all his lifespan and gear for mercy. Unmoved by his pathetic begging, Shadow coldly ordered the execution. The space around them instantly shifted. The starry void disappeared, and Hu Keban found himself tied to a metal chair inside his own dirty basement hideout. A sudden knock echoed at the door. It slowly opened to reveal 3 young women, who cheerfully greeted him as if everything was normal. Absolute terror washed over Hu Keban's face. Trembling and sweating, he called out their names, asking how his victims could be standing there when he had already eaten them. The girls smiled sadistically, their cheeks flushing as they happily confirmed that he still remembered them. Their faces then twisted into terrifying demons with glowing red eyes. Declaring it was their turn to feast, the vengeful spirits leapt onto Hu Keban and violently tore him apart while he screamed in pain. The brutal attack reduced Hu Keban to a bloody skeleton in the chair, and the system confirmed his death. Seconds later, a green light wrapped around his bones, forcefully bringing him back to life completely unharmed. Gasping for air, Hu Keban stared at his restored body, crying in pure confusion. Before he could even think, the heavy knock echoed again. The door opened to show the same 3 girls, their eyes already glowing red as they repeated their cheerful greeting. Panic consumed Hu Keban as he realized he was trapped in a nightmare. He screamed for them to stay away, but the monsters ignored him and mercilessly ripped him apart all over again. As Hu Keban's screams echoed endlessly, the system delivered its final verdict. He would be locked in the judgment space to suffer this gruesome death in an infinite loop. Shadow nodded, satisfied that this eternal torment was true justice. Suddenly, Shadow received an urgent message from the Knights Templar Guild leader, who was panicking and begging for help with a major emergency. The guild leader explained that the Bone Witch Dr. Boss they had just defeated dropped a strange key. While examining it, the key exploded and turned into a massive purple portal right in front of the guild. Intrigued by their incredible luck to trigger such a rare event, Shadow told them to stay put and promised to head over immediately. Shadow landed his skeletal dragon near the massive purple portal. The Knights Templar Guild leader let out a sigh of relief and quickly asked what the strange gateway was. He explained that the Bone Witch Doctor rarely dropped a Bone Bishop's tomb key. If two different players got this exact key at the same time, both would activate at once. These active keys forced open a two-way portal. The two groups holding the keys could then enter the tomb and compete. The guild leader quickly realized they had to fight another team. Shadow nodded, though he added that it might not be a straight fight since there could be special rules. Only the winning side would earn the right to challenge the tomb boss. When the guild leader asked how strong the boss was, Shadow casually said it was an average diamond-grade enemy. The guild leader panicked, shouting that even if they won the competition, they could never beat a boss like that. Shadow completely ignored his panic and said that was exactly why he was here. While the guild leader stood there confused, Shadow kicked him straight into the portal. Walking toward the swirling vortex himself, Shadow told the rest of the guild's men to stay back and not cause trouble. On the other side of the portal inside the tomb, a muscular bearded man in a light blue cape stepped out. This was Lu Jianfeng, the leader of Jufeng Pavilion, the top guild in the Bashu region. His men laughed arrogantly, bragging about their luck in finding a bonus portal after beating their boss. Feeling unstoppable, they shouted that no one was on their level and demanded their hidden opponents come out. One of the men cheered for their leader, claiming enemies would freeze in fear against Brother Lu, and even the famous Shadow would die if he showed up. Revealing his hidden class as a wind-treading swordsman, Lu Jianfeng started sprinting, telling his men to stop bragging before they cursed their luck. Lu Jianfeng's class gave him a layer of damage immunity for every 10 meters he ran, stacking up to 99 times. Maxing out these stacks also gave him a 30% damage boost. His men cheered as he rapidly built up his defenses. Glowing with 99 shields, his team called him invincible. Enjoying the praise, Lu Jianfeng smugly agreed that anyone except Shadow was dead meat against him. Right on cue, the system announced that the player Shadow had entered the Bone Bishop's tomb. Instantly, Lu Jianfeng's 99 layers of armor shattered into pieces. The system then confirmed both teams had arrived and closed the portal. Covered in sweat and completely shocked, Lu Jianfeng nervously asked his men if he had really just heard Shadow's name. Shadow calmly stepped through the swirling vortex, appearing right behind the kneeling Knights Templar Guild leader on the other side of the arena. He recognized his opponents right away as Jufeng Pavilion, led by his old rival Lu Jianfeng. Seeing Shadow in person, the enemy team panicked. They knew the top player on the leaderboards, famous for beating high-tier bosses alone, was totally out of their league. They cried out that their whole group combined would not even make a good warm-up for him. Shadow watched Lu Jianfeng. He remembered from his past life that despite looking like a big, foolish bear, Lu was actually smart, direct, and quick to adapt. In his previous timeline, Shadow fought Lu's guild in this exact tomb, ending in a perfect tie when the timer ran out. Showing respect, Lu Jianfeng greeted Shadow and admitted he never expected him to hold the other key. He politely asked for no hard feelings, pointing out that since the game forced them to be enemies here, they had to fight. Shadow stayed quiet for a moment before bluntly saying Lu Jianfeng knew his guild had zero chance of winning. He asked why Lu Jianfeng did not just surrender, warning him that any lifespan lost from dying in this area could never be recovered. Lu Jianfeng laughed and rubbed his neck, agreeing that leaving would save them a lot of trouble. However, his face grew serious as he proudly stated that the people of his region only knew how to die in battle, not how to run away. He added that he simply could not miss this rare chance to fight Shadow without starting a real-world grudge. Shadow smiled. He knew this fearless attitude was exactly why Jufeng Pavilion was the strongest guild in the southwest. He gave Lu Jianfeng a plain warning that he would not hold back. The system finished the setup and announced the tomb's rules. The first rule forced one-on-one duels. If challenged, a player could not refuse. During a duel, no one could attack outside targets or leave until one player's health hit 0, permanently kicking them from the tomb. Shadow smirked, ready to farm all their dropped lifespan. The system added that only one duel could happen at a time. To win the whole event, a team had to kill every enemy or steal their flag and bring it back to base. If neither side did this within 5 hours, the match would end in a draw and kick everyone out. Finally, it revealed that the winning team would get to fight the tomb's master, a diamond-grade boss named Bone Bishop Nabage. Lu Jianfeng smiled confidently. He realized these rules perfectly favored his side, letting them use their huge numbers to their advantage. Acting quickly, Lu Jianfeng shouted his orders. He told his first team to trap Shadow in endless duels. They did not need to win, they just had to stall him, and as soon as one died, the next would challenge him right away. At the same time, his second team would sneak around to steal the enemy flag. His men roared and charged forward. The system announced that a player named Mountain City Bear King challenged Shadow to a duel. The large man lunged forward with a war cry, but Shadow easily threw a poison dart right into his face. The player gasped at the crazy speed before the system announced his defeat. As soon as the first man fell, the system announced the next duel. Unbothered by the endless line of fighters, Shadow calmly told Chen Wuming to guard their flag. Before Chen Wuming could even process the order, an enemy from the sneaking squad jumped at him. Surrounded by floating pink hearts, the enemy tried to grab the guild leader in a tight, creepy hug. The terrified guild leader screamed, begging the man to stop touching him, while Shadow just stepped aside to watch the weird struggle. Shadow's current opponent lunged at him, yelling at Shadow to focus on their fight. Without breaking a sweat, Shadow dodged the messy attack and killed the man instantly with another poison dart. The loser rolled away in heart-patterned underwear as his armor vanished. Shadow plainly called the attempt pathetic as the system announced his win. The system immediately started the next duel against a player named Sichuan Chongqing Dual Realm Walker. The new challenger aggressively warned Shadow to stay away from his struggling teammate. At that very moment, a group of Lu Jianfeng's men cornered Chen Wuming. Covered in embarrassing lipstick marks from the weird hug, the humiliated guild leader finally lost his temper. Screaming at them to take him seriously, he activated his holy shield art, glowing with a golden light that made him completely invincible for 8 seconds. Using his invincibility, Chen Wuming swung his weapon hard, creating a shockwave that knocked his attackers away. Striking a dramatic pose, he proudly shouted that he would hold the line and protect Shadow's base from anyone. However, instead of looking scared or getting ready to attack again, the knocked-down enemies just sat on the ground and started laughing. One of them mocked the glowing guild leader, telling him he should probably look behind him. Chen Wuming froze as panic set in. Turning around, the horrified Chen Wuming saw another enemy running off into the distance, carrying their red flag. The thief laughed and waved goodbye, leaving the sweating guild leader to realize they had completely played him.